Now I'm waiting for the timer to kick on. And there it goes. I am resident of Collinwood, and I'm all sorts of crazy, but I'm here with a great guest, my buddy Butch Rosenbalm. How are you, man?
I'm kind of crazy too, so we're all crazy down here.
That's it. That's it. We're crazy up here in PA too. Oh god. So we're here to discuss the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Netflix's Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. What did you think of this, man?
Oh, I'm really I'm kind of all over the place. There were some things I liked about it. Um, I really did. I did like the one character who was a survivor of a school shooting. For some reason, I just thought that was really interesting.
Yep.
Going the Halloween current series route where you just kind of ignore all the other sequels. There's a lot of questions. You know what's going on since then. There's a lot of things that were not answered. I really feel like that was the start of a good film here. They needed to bring somebody in and polish the script and maybe bring some horror fans in and go, okay, well, wait a minute, what's going on? What's this? What's that? What's this? I mean, we don't have to have everything spoon fed, right. But there were a lot of questions, and maybe they're saving them for the next sequel. But like I said, there was parts I liked, there was parts I didn't like. So I mean, I do the 1 to 5 scale, 5 being the highest. It was somewhere between the 2.5 and a 3. There was, like I said, there was some good stuff that I liked, some great effects, and a lot of questions.
I think my biggest question, and even for you too, when we know they're taking these group of young teens, college students, if you will, and they're going into this town.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, they acknowledge the past events, and they make a big emphasis throughout the movie about Leatherface wearing a mask.
Mm-hmm.
And here's my one big issue with it. I don't mind that part. I get that. He was wearing a mask, skin mask. But it's like they do, but they don't really focus on the family, the Sawyer family. And I'm not saying they should know their name, but there's not really an emphasis to try to name them, or I don't know, maybe it's me, acknowledge them enough in this movie. It's more, Leatherface is more the focus, right?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the problem with the films. I mean, watching it after I got through, I thought, well, there's no reason to ignore Texas 2 and Texas 3. There's nothing in this film that goes against them. My favorite, one of my favorite parts of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre is the hitchhiker and the storekeeper. There's one part, and it's not the least bit funny. But after I can't even think of his name, but after he kidnaps Sally and he brings her to the house, and there's the hitchhiker, and he's standing there and he's, look what your brother did to the door. Oh God, I start laughing because I don't know, it's that weird dichotomy of this horrible, you've got this cannibalistic guy with a chainsaw going around slaughtering people. You've got sociopaths and psychopaths, got a hostage in the truck, and the dude's worried about the door. So yeah, the Sawyers, and as much as I did not like the Platinum Dunes remakes, again, the family was a big part of it.
Right.
Ditto the Next Generation. So yeah, I thought it was really weird to move away from that. And I mean, even though you had the woman who passes away, I looked it up. I'm sorry, it's been a little while. I think that was Alice Krieg, who was in Ghost Story. Who is she? Is she his wife? Is she his mother? Is she a former victim that he's Stockholmed? Like I said, so many questions there.
When I was watching this, I kept thinking about you on two levels. When they showed that woman, I'm thinking, Butch touched upon about, do they when they kidnap some of these people, they might not always skin them, or kill them. They might just hold them captive and they become Sawyers. And I kept not just thinking that about that, but when we see Leatherface, he's without the mask. He's in the back of he's getting escorted by the police, obviously. And I'm thinking, well, is this Leatherface or is this somebody we're going to get told it's Leatherface here in a moment, right? Like when it racks. And I'm thinking, is this just another victim who became Leatherface in a weird way?
Yeah, let me give credit where credit is due. That idea comes from a website called writeups.org, WRITESUP.org. They have an entry on Leatherface. It's a superhero role-playing game stat place. And they talk about basically instead of like doing a physical attack, he does a mental attack. And when their mental stats go so low, then they assume their role in the family.
Right.
So I want to give credit where due. That was not an original as much as I wish it was. But yeah, I was wondering that. And is I think we heard his name in the Junior, I think is what they call him. Another thought I had, kind of similar to what you were talking about. Maybe the original Leatherface is dead, and this is like his son.
Right.
The more I thought about it, I thought that actually kind of fit with the story they were telling, because whoever that woman was, she was way too. For my first thought was, is this Sally?
Right.
She's obviously gone round the bend at the end of the original TCM. I mean, did she? I presume that she ended up in. I think Texas 2 says she ends up in an insane asylum.
Yep.
Did she break out and go back and live with him and then have his kid? Obviously, she didn't, because we have the other actress show up as what's supposed to be Sally, which actually I really liked that. I really did. I know part of it's the times, but looking back, like at say Night of the Living Dead with Barbara and TCM with Sally, and the Scream Queen, if you will. So it's like I enjoy seeing somebody, if you will, kind of broken and then rebuilt back is a badass, a la Sarah Connor from the Terminator films.
Right.
I like that idea, but like I said, there's so many questions and so few answers.
I think that's the thing. That's my biggest issue with this movie, because again, I think their focus was more on their younger characters who were coming, especially that girl with the history of the school shooting. I'm with you. I love that. It really told a gritty story on top of what they were trying to do here. And it helps you connect with that character, because you're feeling sorry for her. It's like, oh my God, she survived a school shooting, she's reliving that terror in her mind, and who wouldn't, it helps you click with her. So I feel, because they're focusing on that and they're focused on the guy left the deed back at the office. So I
liked him. I really did. I for some reason.
I liked the core characters we get, even the guy living in town. I like them all pretty much. They're all likable characters. So when they start dying off, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
That's
something that some horror movies don't get. I mean, we all enjoy 20 minutes with assholes and then the assholes getting killed. Right. But when you make the viewer care about a character, their death has so much more impact. Yeah. The one you're talking about that lived in town, I started just calling him by caricatures. He was just the redneck. And when he grabs the keys and he seems to be being such a jerk, I'm like, no, this is too easy to see. He isn't. He knows what's going on. He knows the score, and of course he did.
Yep. I like how he's like, until you show me that deed, then you can get those keys back. Because did you just kill that woman? It sort of gives it. It's weird, because I literally had to explain what a citizen's arrest is to somebody. I said, he's not quite making that, but he's sort of letting them know, hey, you show me that deed, I'll let you go. But if you don't, I'm calling the cops. He's not making an arrest, but he's sort of detaining them in a way till they can't leave the town.
He is, but if if you and I are in person and I hold on to you and I handcuff you,
Right.
and I make a Barney Fife citizens arrest, right. That's illegal. I am holding you against your will.
Right.
And kind of technically, he wasn't. I mean, he was not holding them. I mean, but by the same token, they couldn't leave. So if they had maybe intentionally, and of course he didn't know it, it could come to kill that woman.
Right.
He was helping. I'm not a lawyer. I don't play one. Anyone watching this, do not listen to me because I don't know my butt from a hole in the ground. Don't listen to me for legal advice.
Don't
But,
listen to us.
Yeah, we are not lawyers here, or I don't think Joel is. I know I'm not.
No, I'm not. I'm no lawyer. I'm just a horror fan. But I'm with you. I like the characters they hear, and I think that's my Sally's backstory here. How we meet the store owner who says he wore a mask, and he contacts Sally through CB. CB, and they get it back to her on phone, and she's like, "This is Hardesty," and I'm like, "Oh, it gave you really good goosebump feelings." And one thing I like about this a little more than 2018 is when she finally confronts Leatherface, there's a bit of fear, but there's also, you don't know me, do you? You don't remember me. And it's like, thank you. He shouldn't, whether it is the real Leatherface or not, because it's been how long? He's not going to hold on to you for dear life from a memory standpoint. I love how they clear that up in this movie, where in Halloween 2018, Laurie's like, "Oh, he's coming for me," and it's like, is he?
But also, I would throw in for her, that was the worst day ever, forever. Yeah. For him, it was Tuesday.
Yep.
This is nothing unusual other than you got away.
Yep.
So, and it kind of made me think of that line in Avengers Endgame where Scarlet Witch and Thanos, or not Endgame, in Infinity War, where Scarlet Witch and Thanos are fighting, and she's like, "You took everything from me," and he's like, "I don't even know who you are."
Right.
And then she has the great comeback, "You will," and she lays a smackdown on him. I take that back. That was Endgame, but I like them bringing back the character. I like the woman that portrayed her. She was kick ass. But as usual, though, she made stupid mistakes.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This person scarred you so long ago. I love the picture, by the way. I thought that was a great point. Just start blasting. Don't ask questions. Nobody's going to care.
Right.
The crap has already hit the fan. Just rather than the no. Just start shooting him, please.
Can I play devil's advocate a bit to that?
Go ahead.
They had mentioned she had joined the Texas Rangers, I believe, in this movie, right? That she had, and it made me think about something as she's going up with the gun. That I don't think. Now I'm going to make this real clear. I don't think she's there to arrest him at all.
No.
I'm not defending that. She's not there to make an arrest. I think it comes down to, there's a difference between pointing the guns at somebody and pulling the trigger, whether they killed someone you love or not. Because we always hear people in war say, I couldn't shoot at them until they started shooting at me. So I'm sort of wondering if that's sort of what happened to her almost at that moment. In a weird way.
Self-defense had to kick in?
Yeah, in a weird way.
Maybe. I don't know. One of my favorite characters all time of horror films is Sheriff John Quincy Wydell of Devil's Rejects, and he's very much an Old West character. I believe, I'm presuming you've seen Devil's Rejects, and if you know anything about the American West, you have these gunslingers, and like in Kansas they're a bad guy, but in Texas they're a good guy, and over in Colorado they're a sheriff, and over in New Mexico they're wanted,
Right.
and you know what does it take to fight a monster? Another monster.
Yeah.
And, I mean, and truthfully, that's what Sheriff Wydell was. I mean, he was just a if you will, pardon me for pulling some Dungeons and Dragons here. He was a lawful good monster. He was like a Dexter, a serial killer hunting serial killers. Um, in my mind, you can't turn Sally, even making her a badass Texas Ranger, you can't kind of try to turn her back into a regular person. It's no, she's gone through too much and gone too far. And I know if they would listen to my suggestions, these movies would be a lot shorter. Sometimes it's just like I know we have to, I know we have to jettison some logic, and there's no point for that person to go into that blackened room with no power all by themselves. But
no, I agree with you. When you fight a monster, what you need is another monster. My favorite pulp character is the Shadow. He literally takes evil and he is evil in a sense, fighting evil. I mean, everything he does is what evil does. The gangsters have goons or, underlings. He has agents. They have ways of getting information. So does he. And he also uses disguise you wouldn't know if it was him, if he was standing next to you. He could just be listening to you. He could be the janitor. He could be whatever, a Secret Service agent. You wouldn't know. A gangster himself. He did that too. So, and the end result is he's gonna kill you. That's what the Shadow does generally. Now, there's been moments where he does try to take someone alive, and it gets spoiled, but it's a rare thing that he does it. He does generally pull the trigger. Now, in the radio, they made this more clever, but they didn't have him pull the trigger, but something else happened where the character got killed. Because, again, radio censorship. But I agree with you. I do think at times, I get what they're doing with Hardesty, that, okay, she wants to confront him, but at that moment, you're right. It's not a time for, do you know me? No. Who cares? When this guy was cutting up your brother, your friends, you think he stopped and asked them that? No, he didn't. And I get, you could sort of say, well, that's what separates him and her, the humanity. I'm going to channel my inner Shadow here. Sometimes you got to chuck humanity out the window when you're fighting evil.
Yeah. There's my perception of the Shadow starts with the DC Comics Howard, I believe his name, Chakian, that miniseries from the 80s. That's the first time I was aware of the character. That's the first time I was able to find out much about him. So you can correct any of my assumptions which are wrong. I have gone on to learn more about him. But he has the big showdown, and he's shooting his guns, and he's laughing.
Yep.
First of all, that's not a sane man. And while he's doing heroic things, he's arguably not a hero. I mean, I argue all the time that the Punisher is not a superhero. In fact, he's not a hero at all. But that's a whole nother discussion.
No, I agree. Here's the thing. I've often said the Shadow is like the Punisher, but with an actual dick. He deals with evil exactly how evil deals with human beings, and he punishes it unrelentingly. He's not somebody who's going to mess around with it. He's going to put it down like a wild dog almost, if you will. And again, I think there are moments too where, okay, I'll give a great example. There's a moment where the Shadow is being tortured by the Black Master, and he could die here, and he's laughing about it. That's just sinister as shit. And
I don't know who first said it, but something ain't right with that boy.
no, that's just it. And when he confronts the Black Master, and he has him at gunpoint, and the Black Master reveals there's a bomb in the room with him, he doesn't worry about saving the Black Master. He worries about saving himself. It's like here's the difference with the Shadow and Batman. Batman would worry about saving the Joker. The Shadow would be like, I don't give a flying fuck about this guy.
Yeah, yeah, that's a whole nother horse that I'm not going to climb on because we'll be here 2 hours later and I'll still be rambling on. Yeah, there, I'm going to tie it back around. If you want to say that her humanity or whatever, yeah, sure, say that. But you're not dealing with somebody hungry stealing food or Ivan Boski or I'm going up the scale here. You're dealing with a multi-decade serial killer, cannibal, probably necrophiliac. If we all know who his inspiration was.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, as much as I like to watch the old '60s and early '70s Dragnet and Adam 12, there's no point in you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can't win. No, you just pull the shotgun out and you start shooting.
Yep. There's a such thing. I'll give a great example. There's a movie it's a little more accurate than Tombstone. It's Wyatt Earp with Kevin Costner. And Kevin Costner bashes somebody over the head as Wyatt Earp. And he tells his deputy, you shouldn't have hesitated. It's not the exact line, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. He's talking to Pat Masterson.
Yep. And that's the thing. It's like with somebody who means you harm, and they've already done harm to you, this isn't a moment for relapse or go into the history. No, you know what the history is. Everybody knows what the history is. It's sort of like that's one thing I'll give 2018. When Lori points the gun at Michael, she pulls the trigger. That's a moment they needed to with this movie. When she goes up the steps and sees him, bam, you can have him move out the way, sure. But
and even her pause for just a second, like, oh my God, it really is him. Right. And that's why she misses that. I could easily live with that.
Right. I'm with you. If she would have come to the realization that is him, I'm with you. I could accept that. That's why she misses that, or he goes for the gun and he just pushes it out the way. She squeezes the trigger. That I could see. Maybe he's closer than what she realizes. Or he's closer. Sorry.
She pauses just long enough for him to push it. He probably. I've never held a shotgun, but my understanding, you do not want to hold that barrel. But yeah, pushes it out of the way. Something. Yeah. Right. We're on the same page here.
Right, and I think my favorite scene though too with the escape is the zoom in on the eyes of who's going to be Leatherface. The look he's given. He's gone. He's gone. What did you think of that?
I'm not sure how much he was there to begin with. It goes back into my questions. Did he stop? When did he stop? Why did he stop? Did he fall in love with the woman that passed away? Because she gave me more of a motherly or protective feel than a wife. Not that a wife can't protect or mother her husband when need be. Maybe this woman was going to be a victim and she decided, hey, I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to stop this guy from killing people.
Right.
That's part of my problem is all my questions. Did he stop? Like I said, did he stop? Why did he stop? Is this the real Leatherface? Is this Leatherface Jr.?
Yeah.
The scene you referred to, I liked. I thought it was a good scene, but there was so many questions about him and everything that had gone on. It's like, for me, it robbed us some of its power.
I do think it's a legit question too, because if you're gonna, again, I've sort of said this with when they when they retconned Leprechaun right after 2018. Well, right after Halloween 2018. I'm like, here comes the retcons to death. And it's like, okay, if you're going to literally retcon a franchise, you need to have this make sense. Yes, you can acknowledge the first film, which they do in this. But then when you turn that and make the focus just Leatherface and don't really answer questions like, okay, where did the family go? Where did his family go? Did they just stop killing? You know, like you said, I agree. Those questions are all legit. They're not nothing. There's something that there's things that, and again, I'm with you. They could just answer this on the next film, hopefully. You know, but the fact that they're sort of, I get what they're doing. They're wanting you to just not ask a ton of questions and just enjoy what they're showing you. And we've seen horror movies like that. You know, there are a lot of horror movies out there like that. But the fact that you have a character like Hardesty come, you know, I know it's not the original actress, but you're bringing that character back. It's the equivalent of, okay, you're bringing a main character back, whether it's the actress who played her or not, and now here's all these questions that aren't being answered at all. You know, is that the original Leatherface, or is it, like you said, Leatherface Jr., or is it just somebody who lived with the Sawyers? Because when I'm watching this, I kept thinking about, I'm like, man, I'm wondering if Butch is right.
Yeah, you know, I totally agree. And saying, you know, the Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills, they at least tried to answer those questions, or at least give us a little bit. It's part of, or rather, I guess it's similar to like when you take a beloved horror film, and I'm going to use my favorite horror film of all time, Dawn of the Dead from '78. When you decide to remake that film, and even when you turn it totally on its ear and you just keep zombie survivors hiding them all, and you tell your own story, you cannot take that title, take that setting, and then expect people to completely divorce all their feelings, all their belovedness or whatever towards that, and just go, okay, tell me this new story.
Yeah.
And that's it's ludicrous. In that case, why don't you just make a film called Zombies in the Mall?
Yeah.
Now, I happen to like the remake of Dawn of the Dead. Does it come anywhere near close to the original? Of course not. It's kind of a dumb, fun action flick with some interesting things in it. Mm-hmm. But you can't reuse the title and reuse the situations, or in the case of Texas, the new Texas, you know, you bring back your killer, you're continuing a story, the original story, you're bringing back the original victim, the original final girl, whatever you want to call her, and you have to you can't just go, well, she's doing the Texas Rangers. Okay, we have kind of enough on her,
right?
But she's not the main character.
No, Leatherface is. Yeah, not just Leatherface too. His family, again, we, like you said, we've seen throughout the franchise, the family has been a focus with Leatherface. What I tell you what I waited to happen is, and I know we didn't realize this was Leatherface until he put the skin mask on. Mm-hmm. But I kept waiting for a truck to come alongside the van and run it off the road, like it be the family. Yeah. That's what I kept waiting for to happen, and that didn't happen, which I was shocked by. In a good and bad way at the same time, but it's like, okay, because again, you could get, if it's a younger generation, if you see a younger generation running the bin off the road, now to your point, now here's this younger generation of Sawyer family, you know,
be they blood or not,
right, and that's something I feel I'm with you, that's something this film is missing in a big way.
Yeah. Like I said, this is not a bad film. If by chance anybody involved with this film, you know, sees this video, I don't want them to go, God, that guy in the sweatshirt, man, he just really didn't like him. I liked parts of it. I felt like there was a really good idea, But for whatever reason, and 20 years from now, we may read some article or some book about how this is what the story we wanted to tell,
Yeah.
but due to this, and this,
Yeah.
we couldn't tell. I don't know if you've ever seen the Return of the Living Dead book that our mutual friend Patrick he gave me one year for my birthday, and like the first half of the book is literally just about Return of the Living Dead. And then it starts talking about the sequels and what was intended versus what we got. Oh, well, this happened and that happened, and oh, okay. Um, that doesn't improve or just make us just like the what we got, more or less, at least in my opinion. It's just like, oh, this would have been much more interesting.
Yeah.
So there was a good idea, a good start. It's like you're somebody is molding something, sculpting something, and just they didn't finish it, in my opinion.
Right. I think here's my good things about this movie because I'm with you. I don't want if they for whatever reason listen to this video. I love the kills. They're very good. They're very Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this movie it fits its title from a kill standpoint. I love how he hits the one dude over the head and he's bleeding, and then he's coming out of the orphanage or whatever, and his face is like he's bleeding, and the guy's like, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "Does
And
he
he
look
turns, and you can see the God. That was such a good effect, and I my love for George Romero, so that implies love for Tom Savini. So I enjoy a good special effect.
Yep.
I mean, we could tell, or at least I can. I'm pretty sure you probably could too. You can tell what's CGI and what's not.
Yep.
But that was a practical appliance, or at least it sure looked like the most of it, and that was really good. I mean, it looked believable, and like it's one of those things you come across. If I come across that person, I'm like, dude, do you want me to kill you? Because I don't think you want to live like this.
It's really they do a good job with the blood and the gore. The ending to me is the biggest. It's a bit cheesy when they're sitting.
Oh,
I get they're trying to get back to the original. Here's where I felt, for all the sort of complaining we're doing about what they didn't do, you know, here's the one thing you didn't really have to do, and that was try to copy and paste the end of the original in a weird way to fit your movie. I felt you could have did a lot of it. You could have just had her hit Leatherface with the car and keep going, whatever you want to do. Get out of town.
yeah, it's horror movies, especially the ones from the '60s and '70s. They always have that jump at the end, and that still continues into the '80s. And it always comes back kind of to me like Planet of the Apes, which
Right.
unfortunately everybody knows the ending to now. That but the first time you see Planet of the Apes, if you don't know the ending, it's like, oh my god.
Yep.
I even kind of guessed it, but because I'd seen pictures in Starlog, but still, it's oh my god. Um, the ending to original Texas, is pretty. I love that truck driver. Like, get your ass in the car. Let's go. I love that. And they were trying to do something. I understand. Personally, uh, excuse me. What I would have had him do is pull out the overbearing sister, and he's just standing there with a chainsaw, and he doesn't kill her because I thought that kill was stupid and pointless. So then you already have a setup for your sequel.
Yeah.
The sister who lived through the shooting is like, and seriously, you can't take your electronic car off of cruise or self control, whatever that. But you have a setup for your sequel. She's coming back to save her sister,
Yeah.
and say the actress doesn't want to do it. Okay, you killed her, or you get somebody new to do it. I just killing her I thought was dumb, and the effect was pretty obviously CGI. Like you said, I think they were going for one more, and but I think they missed, at least for me.
I think too, something they could have did that we don't always see. Maybe she thought her sister. Maybe instead of having them both in the car, maybe she thinks her sister is dead. And as the car's pulling away, the sister comes out waiting, and Leatherface grabs her, like just grabs her. Like
Yeah,
we see a death. Why not? I'm with you. You had a again. I still think they're going to come back with a sequel to this, which is good.
I
Hopefully,
think that's at least the intention.
right. That is to me. I'm with you. That is their intention. But try to have a little more explanation of, hey, where's the rest of the Sawyer family? Is this Leatherface for sure? What's again? I take it by the arrest, and this isn't a great way to sort of pieces that he's still out there killing, but it's like, is he? I know Texas is big, but is it that big?
Yeah, well, the implication kind of to me is that he's not.
Right.
So that's why I was asking. Did the woman, let's call her Mama, did Mama get him to stop? Did she talk him into stop? Did she love him into stop?
Yeah.
Did she Norma Bates him into stop? Norma Bates is my name for Norman's mother. So if I say somebody Norma Bates, that just so you know. I don't think that's her real name, but you know, so since apparently Sally was out looking for him and trying to follow leads and follow up, the impression I got was he was not killing.
Right.
And since the chainsaw's hidden, it's like, okay, baby, you're right. I'm not going to do this anymore. Let's put this up, and we're going to seal it up. The guy that's really good at something that gives it up for love, and then when his love is killed or taken from him, he goes back to what he's good at. I mean, it almost made me think of John Wick. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but he keeps asking me if I'm back. Yeah, I think I'm back. So, but no, the implication I got was he had not been. And did you catch the post credit scene? Did you see that one?
The where he goes back to the house, the original.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I saw.
So that to me implies he is the original Leatherface.
Right.
So again, you're dealing with a 70 to 80, possibly even 90-year-old man running around. I mean, that's one thing I do like. As much as I don't like, let's see, it's Friday 9. I believe they call it the final Friday. Jason Goes to Hell. That's what it is.
Right.
It opens and like there's this chick in Camp Crystal Lake, and she takes a shower, and Jason's about to kill her, and she goes running off, and there's like an army of FBI agents, and they just blow him, pun intended, to hell. And it's like, finally, this is what you should do. Of course, it doesn't work, but at least you ever seen Jeepers Creepers?
Yeah. I've said it.
The first one, there's a scene I love. He flies down in front of him. Chick hits him with the car. She backs up, runs over him a few times. Then she just spins the wheels. We all knew that wasn't going to work, but I'm like, oh my God, I love you for at least having the sense and the cojones to do that. Bless you, ma'am.
Right. I think that's the thing too. Like, there's a difference between someone who's never been through the experience of a serial killer, but that girl who was through the experience of a school shooting, she comes to the real, hey, I need to do something. That's what we're talking about. Those are moments where you don't want someone to pull back. You want someone to go all in, sort of like Allure showed with 2018.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, though I don't love the movie because I felt ruined the trilogy, Aliens, where Ripley's going to the nest. She's going there to take care of business. She's not going to play patty cake. Like, okay, this is what we're talking about when there's the mob in Halloween Kills. They're not there to talk to Michael Myers. I like that because, hey, guess what? This guy,
He's not.
Halloween is just another day to him.
Yeah,
He's there. He's a killer. So if you don't take care of him, he's gonna take care of you.
yeah. We were talking about the people coming back. 2 points. One, um, they're not there to. I'll show my Shakespeare reference. Sit upon the ground and tell sad stories about the death of kings.
Yep.
No, you're here. We're going after him. And two, I felt like with the and it's we were going to do this earlier, and I got sick and we weren't able to do it. So I'm sorry for not remembering names and referring to them as characters. We actually we've dropped Netflix for right now, and we've got something else. So I was going to rewatch them. Oh crap, I can't. So I apologize for not having names. But the school shooting survivor, I felt like she was on the hero's journey.
Yep.
She had gone through something traumatic. She, uh, the easy one, I guess, is Luke Skywalker, his adopted parents being killed, and then he leaves. The older sister, I guess, becomes Obi-Wan, who gets killed, and presumably, if they get a sequel, I presume she's going to come back as a badass. But I felt like it was, they flashed back to the school shooting. She knew to lay there. She knew how to win, to
Yep.
beat that shooter by laying there. That's not going to work.
Yep.
With face. She learned she has to fight. So I felt like she was going through a hero's journey, with I can't think of his name. The George Lucas that talked about the hero's journey and all that. His name's escaping me. I'll think of it after we get through with this. But the mythology, and she didn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
It's I don't know. Maybe that was the point. She had to get to the point that she's going to realize that she has to, come back and fight this monster, slay this dragon. But like I said, it's like there's some really good ideas. There's the beginning of a good story here. There's just maybe it happened too fast. Maybe this got lost in rewrites.
That's the thing too. The one thing I'll give them credit for with this, there's a line Horsey gives: "Don't run. Don't run away from it." She's telling him to fight him. She's telling him, "Hey, fight this guy, because if you run,
you're going to run the rest of your life.
Run the rest of your life." And I love that line. It's a great line. It's like, yes, there are great lines and moments in this movie. It's like,
oh yeah,
if you do this here, this is even a better movie than what you've already made it. And I love the gore. They have the right amount of gore and kills. I don't think it's awful, but at the same time, that's just like, you're not really answering questions that you need to answer to me here. Like, I think in many ways, because I've sort of, well, I want to ask you this first before I make this point.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, Scream, Ghostface, Chucky. Really, when you look at Leatherface, and I don't think he's lost the time, but prior to this, there hadn't been a Texas Chainsaw movie, for a while. So was he sort of getting lost? And do you think that's why they made him more of a focus to this?
That's an interesting question, and at the very least, I believe it's partially. Everybody knows Michael. Michael's the 600-pound gorilla.
Right.
Jason was the 500-pound gorilla until the lawsuit came. I'm a Friday the 13th fan. That's all I'm going to say. Chucky, I mean, they're cranking those things out. I gave up on them a long time ago, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't find the doll scary. Kick it, it goes away.
Right.
Freddy, Ghostface, all those. Yeah, you have to do something to remain in the eye. So, be it a video game, a movie. I mean, that's why if you go on YouTube and you type in whatever / fantasy film, you'll find them. And you'll find some good ones. I remember seeing one back in the 90s. It's called Troops. It was a takeoff of Cops set in Star Wars. It was followed some stormtroopers around. And I remember watching this in like 98, 99, going, oh my God, this looks like Lucas made it. I mean, so there are some good, there are horrible, there are bad, there's okay, there's good, and there's great. But Leatherface's two main distinguishing features are Leatherface and a chainsaw.
Yep.
For folks like myself and you and others, we might throw in the Sawyer family, we might throw in Texas.
Yep.
I think it'd be interesting to make a Texas Chainsaw Massacre not set in Texas, just to mess with them. But I was wondering, how much of the, and this might not be the correct word, but of the mythology did they know about this? It's like, I'm a big Star Trek nerd. I do not like the bad robot films, the new ones with Chris Pine as Kirk. Not necessarily because they replaced actors, which half the crew's gone, the original crew's gone. So it's just I don't think they're good films,
Right.
and they aren't. I don't want to tell the same story, but obviously these are not the same characters. They've lost what I liked about it, and not that necessarily this version of Texas. Not that I was ever a huge Leatherface fan. I kind of had to be in the movie to watch TCM film, but I there were things I liked about it. There were things I enjoyed about the film, and they've got some of these. And like I used to think about those Bad Robot Star Trek films. It's like, did you all just read the back? I used to say the back of the VHS tape. I guess now the back of the DVD, and that's how you learned about these films, because there's things that you're missing, the subtleties and the nuances. I'm not talking about getting bogged down in minutia and whether Kirk was born on March 22nd or March 23rd or any of that kind of stuff, but
Right.
there's certain things. I mean, if you're going to make a Halloween film, Michael Myers is going to be in it, of course.
Right.
Owing to Halloween 3. Michael Myers should act like Michael Myers. Freddy should act like Freddy. Jason should act like Jason. Especially if it's a sequel and you're saying, okay, well, ignore all those other sequels. It's like, okay, I'll give you this one. But, in return, you have to tell me a good story. I liked Halloween 2018.
Right.
Halloween Kills was okay. It suffered from middle child syndrome. And at parts, I felt like they were just trying to stretch two films out into three. But this film is just, again, it's not a bad film, but it's just missing a lot of things they brought up good concepts and they never explained them.
Right. I think here's my biggest issue with it too. Okay, I get Leatherface. I've sort of touched upon this in the beginning, and so have you. We get Leatherface is wearing a skin mask. You don't know who he is. Great. Okay, that we get that. That's fine. You can have that. I understand that. But the other family members weren't, and we see them, you somewhat acknowledge them, but then you go away from them, and they're never acknowledged again. Until we see that house, until we see the post-credit scene, that's the only other time they're acknowledged. Really, technically, if you want to, But that's my issue. Okay, where the flying fuck is the Sawyer family? It's like I said, when I watch this movie and I see this van going along, and you're waiting for just a truck to come along and just run this thing off the road, and it be the Sawyer family bailing Leatherface out, and I'm waiting for the promo. Leather, what did you do? What did you do? Why did you get caught, son?
Yeah.
I'm waiting for that line.
Yeah. 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 No. That. I mean, that's pretty much exactly what I'm talking about. They're just, again, maybe they're waiting for the sequel. maybe they don't care, and you know, something that was really hard for me to learn to accept. Our mutual friend Patrick taught me many years ago. He loves, I don't know if you know, but he loves the original Superman with Christopher Reeve. I realize that's not the first Superman, but
Right.
he loves that. And when they made what is it, Superman Returns with Brandon Routh and Kevin Spacey,
Yep.
we were talking about it, and he's like, he was kind of disappointed in it, which most of us were. And he said something later that really has stuck with me in the, I think, roughly 15 years since that film came out. He had to learn to accept it not as the film that he wanted to see, but the film that they put out. Now, that may not be a direct quote. He may correct me on it, and if he does, that's perfectly fine, because I will always defer to him.
So
But this isn't the film I wouldn't have made. This isn't even the film I would have made with this script. I was trying to sit back. I wanted to see the story that they wanted to tell me, and maybe that's what they wanted. They wanted more, so there might be more chance of them getting a sequel. I don't know. But it was lacking.
it's funny. Friends of mine ask me if they do a series about the Shadow or another movie, what do you want them to do? I'm like, honestly, tell the story through the Shadow's agents, not him, through his agents. Show them less of him. Then when you hear the innate laughter and you see like this hand going along the wall or through the darkness, you're like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Because it's scary as shit. And that's what the Shadow's supposed to be. It's like a horror. Really, it's not a superhero movie as much as it is a horror superhero movie. This guy's every bit of horror as Michael Myers. As I've said this to another Halloween fan, is Michael Myers is horror's version of the Shadow. And in many ways, he was, for years. He would disappear and then just be there 1 minute. He's there 1 minute and he's gone the next. You never see him, you just hear the laughter. And when you do see him, you wish you didn't. So that's something I want to see in a series. And that's the thing, too, with when you see these horror villains, and we know they're larger than life, but at the same time, okay, yes, I love violence in horror movies. I love the gore. That's fine. I don't mind that. I've never minded gore, but at the same time, you need to tell me a story that makes enough sense, especially when you're taking the very first film that everybody and their brother knows
Mm-hmm.
and jumping all the way to the present day. Okay, what happened from here all the way to here? What happened? I don't mean just the Sally Harsey. They explain that. I'm talking the Sawyer family. Where did they go? Did they die off? Leatherface, like you said, I give you credit. You pointed out Leatherface. He hung up the chainsaw. Okay, this wasn't like a pro wrestler who hung up their boots and said 5 minutes later, "I'm coming back in the ring, brother."
Loser leaves town match.
Right, right. That's so. I love how he's destroying the wall to get to the chainsaw. I'm sorry, but I think that's the thing. Don't just take me from here and jump me all the way to here. There's a difference between doing it with Leatherface and doing it with Michael Myers. If you put Michael Myers back in Smith's Grove, okay, then we know what happened. He wound up back in Smith's Grove. Just tell me how that happened after, and they did that with Kills. They waited to Kills to do that. And I wish they would have did that in 2018.
Yeah.
But at least they gave it to me in the next film. Okay, now in your next film with, the intention of hopefully they give us another film, tell me what the hell happened. Why did not just Leatherface stop? Why did the Sawyer family stop? Or did they?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, we're totally. I mean, we're just totally in agreement. I guess that plays back to that old saying, always leave them wanting more. 'Cause,
yep,
um, I feel like these people, these creative folk, I hate that these people and those people, but I think these folks are fans. They're interested. They have a story to tell. I mean, I kind of like. I feel like the guys doing the and gals doing the new Halloweens. To me, they love Halloween. That's obvious. They may love different things about it than I do.
right.
And I feel that the folks that did this Leatherface, or excuse me, this Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I get the feeling they liked it, and they wanted to keep telling the stories. But you can get away with it with Freddy because he's mystical. Jason, he's a zombie.
Yeah,
Chucky, he's a doll. But with these guys that are, for lack of a better term, regular guys,
yeah,
there's I'm in my early 50s, and I couldn't do what Michael Myers does in these films. So, and I'm pretty sure he's got about 20 years on me. So, I mean, yeah, sure, he's a psycho, and I don't think I am. And I haven't killed anybody on any holidays that I know of. At least not, with a knife. Maybe I've hurt them really, their feelings really bad. That's a sly Robert De Niro reference. But I think you kind of, if you can tell a sequel, but rather than trying to keep going back to what was Texas 74, 75, I think, rather that you can't kind of move on.
yeah,
Maybe this is Leatherface Jr., and I'm okay with it if it is.
yeah.
Uh, but again, and hopefully this is the last time I say, I just need more information. I need to know some more stuff that's going on.
Do you think when we did Friday the 13th, we had talked about Freddy versus Jason. Do you think we'll ever see another big battle of super horror villains, or do you think that ship has sailed?
I don't know why we haven't seen more. As far as I know, Freddy and Jason are still owned by New Line. I actually watched Ghost of Frankenstein the night on Svengoolie, and next week is Frankenstein's monster meets the Wolfman.
Mhm.
Why does this not happen more often? This this is literally a machine to print money. Um, I'm beginning to, I guess, that maybe the ship has sailed. I don't know why. I don't understand. I had somewhere in this massive mess behind me that you can't see. I have a comic book series called Freddy versus Jason versus Ash. Cue meme of Fry from Futurama holding out money, going, "Just take my money already." Make that film before Bruce Campbell gets any older. I don't care how old he is.
Right.
I'll accept it. Just make it. I don't know why. I don't know anybody that, and I'm sure there are. I don't know if anybody's a real horror fan that didn't enjoy, or at least was able to enjoy Freddy versus Jason. I mean, personally, I love the heck out of it. Um, why would you not be doing these? I understand you might be over here at New Line, and I don't know who owns Halloween at the moment. I think it's Universal,
Mhm.
and maybe you can't work out a deal, but if you can, why would you not?
Well, here's the thing with Halloween. Trancas owns the film rights to Halloween, but they distribute it through Universal and Miramax right now. And I was sort of saying this to a friend of mine. I said, Halloween, these trilogies, two of them have made a lot of money. Now, I don't know what the third one's going to make. I'm not clairvoyant. But if it makes a lot of money, Universal also has technically they have Chucky under their belt, the one with Don Mancini does the series.
Mm-hmm.
So here's Michael, here's Chucky. Why not just do something, create a story, have them verse, have a victim in the middle, have it make sense. That way you could have Michael versus somebody. It might not be the dream match everybody wants, like Michael versus Freddy or Michael versus Jason. But, you can't keep relying on that to happen, though, either. I think that's the thing. I'm grateful we got Freddy versus Jason when we did. We got Rob. We may have not got Kane Hodder, but I don't think Ken did a bad job, playing Jason.
Yeah,
And
I would have loved for it to be Kane just because he's cinema favorite, but I think his name's Ken Kurtzinger or something.
Yeah.
He was fine, and I understand why Ronnie Yoon went with him because he's like 6'7", and Robert Englund's like 5'7", and he wanted the David and Goliath, the mismatch there.
Right.
If Michael is over at Universal, my first thought is Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman. Universal owns all of them.
Yep.
I don't know how. You have this film where Michael is just has lost it at Halloween and he's killing people left and right, and somebody's like, the only way to fight a monster is to bring another monster. Hold on. Stabs his hand, and blood goes into a coffin, and Dracula pops out. Go get him.
That's it.
Frankenstein's monster versus Jason. Freddy versus the Wolfman. I know I'm splitting there, but Universal owns all those characters.
Fish face versus Jason.
As long as we don't have that silly that Jason is scared of water because but
that's the thing too. Like when I had wrote a fan fiction story, Michael versus, it wasn't entitled Michael versus Barnabas Collins. I titled it Hell on Halloween Night in Collins part, and really, I was like, do I really want to write this? And I'm like, yeah, fuck it. Fuck it. But I think that's the thing too. Like you said, like it's like you want to just say, here, take my money, like Fry from. Take my money and just make this movie, please. Like, take it. And I think that's the thing too. With Jason and Freddy, they saw the money clearly, and I think that's the thing too. And sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't, and hope that God they do. Especially with the Universal monsters, hopefully they see the money in something like that.
Well, as much as I don't like Tom Cruise, I will say, they tried with his version of the Mummy, and apparently Russell Crowe was playing Henry Jekyll. Correct pronunciation, not of Jekyll, but Jekyll.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was just me being pedantic. Apparently, he was going to tie in, though I think the obvious way to tie in, if you want to do the what they call it, the dark universe or whatever, tie all the classic Universal monsters. Dr. Pretorius, he's the obvious. He's an obvious, and first I would make him immortal and just tie him into all. He helps Dracula. Somehow he's tied to the Mummy. He helps Dracula, Vlad Tepes, to become Dracula. But so obviously they see, or somebody there sees the idea of making this money. And it's just, I honestly begin to wonder how much of it is, you look at the Marvel movies and they make so much money.
Right.
I believe a big part of it is you have that one guy, I believe his name is pronounced Kevin Feige, who he's in charge of it at the, when when you're making Captain America and I'm making Thor, and we have a disagreement about something, we go to Kevin, and Kevin goes, "Okay, this is the way it's going to be."
Yeah.
And there's nobody else to go talk to. There's, that's where I think a lot of these shared universes start messing up. There's nobody, the big gun, the 600-pound elephant, gorilla, whatever. Somebody just go, here's the decision, and to be right. Let me throw that part in too.
In many ways, they sort of need like a Kevin Feige or what Vince McMahon is to WWE. He's the buck stops here, and it doesn't go any further. And I think that I do agree with you. I do think that's a problem. I do think because it does seem like anytime they do some of these Universal movies, it feels like a mess now. And like I actually liked the new Dracula they did, Dracula Untold.
Yeah, I did too, actually.
And it was like, then they don't do anything after that. And it's like, what? Why?
Apparently it bombed.
I'm like, this was actually pretty good. Like, but they don't, right, it did bomb. I just think that, well, here's the thing too. Sort of, I think the biggest difference is, does each individual Universal monster need their own movie? We already know who they are. It's sort of something I've talked about with the Marvel movies. Does every Marvel character need their own movie? Like Morbius, bombed too here recently. And I'm just like, not every Marvel character. Like, okay, I like Venom, but you don't need Venom didn't need its own movie. Venom could have just showed up. I love, like, okay, the Punisher, I could see them doing their own movie, but just have the Punisher show up in New York and going after somebody.
But introduce him like they did, and they introduced him in Daredevil.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Does the Universal monster? Probably not. But I would say if whoever at Universal came to me and said, "Okay, how do we relaunch the Dark Universe?" Okay, first of all, you have to commit with me to at least 4 films.
Yeah.
And you have to start with something big, be it Frankenstein or Dracula, in my opinion, or both. So, no, not every character needs their standalone film. In my mind, it would be, some of it's your cast. Do you have a really interesting or good actor? Do I have the new Sir Christopher Lee to play Dracula? Well, hell yeah, I'm gonna make a film centered around him. But the flip side of that is kind of like, do I need? One of the things I really loved about the most recent Batman film, I didn't have to see Thomas and Martha Wayne die again.
Right.
I don't need to see. I know how Bruce Wayne becomes Batman. I've got kind of I don't know what you'd call it, fan fiction / idea / very short treatment of a movie I call Superman Unbound. And during the credits, Krypton, him growing up, getting powers, and the movie starts, and he's already Superman. We don't need to see, the 30 minutes or hour and a half or however long it was in Man of Steel of, what's his name? Guy that played Jor-El. Can't even think of his name.
Oh,
Him
God.
playing John. I'm sorry?
Oh, the actor who played him?
Yeah.
That's Gladiator.
Russell
Crowe, yeah.
I don't need an hour and a half or however long it was of him playing John Carter of Krypton.
Yeah.
That could have been cut to about 5 minutes. You have that little scene at the end when Kal-El is leaving, and you explain why Zod is after, why he doesn't like him. The rest of that was immaterial. We don't need to see Thomas and Martha Wayne die again. We don't need to see, as much as I'd love to say, we don't have to see. I think it's Clyde Revel. Alive, he's alive, he's alive.
Yeah.
We know how Frankenstein got there. Everybody knows that. It's kind of like you have a guy show up with a deerstalker hat and a pipe in late 19th century London. We don't need to be told who that. We know that's Sherlock Holmes.
Yep.
Jump right in.
Yep.
Of course, tie back to our topic, maybe the people that made the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre film are looking and go, well, that's what we did. We jumped right in, and you're not happy. There's just no pleasing these people.
I think there's a different. Well, here's the thing. There's a difference between. We've seen Superman a ton of times. We've seen Superman done over and over and over again, and where they always start Krypton, and it's like Batman. Listen. I've seen Bruce Wayne's parents murdered more than I've seen Judith Margaret Myers murdered. Okay, I don't need to see it again and again. Like, if I want to see Judith Margaret Myers murdered again, I'm going to throw in the original Halloween. Okay, I don't need to see it again and again and again. So, same thing. I don't need to see Bruce Wayne's parents murdered again. I know they get murdered. We get it. It's basically it's like, it's not even smacking the audience in the face and say, here, have some more. It's, you're treating your audience like they're stupid. And like, look, they already know that story. You don't need to keep telling it. I'm with you. Whereas with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you're taking one film and jumping all the way, and we don't know what happened in between. I'm not meaning Sally. We know what happened with Sally. No. We know what happened with Sally.
You jump 40 years and
right. Where's the Sawyer family? Where are they at?
Where they? You know, the Saw, as I said, one of the films, something is like the Saw went silent. Right. Okay, why?
Why? Yeah.
He's a psychopath. He's not going to stop without a reason.
Yep. I'm with you. This isn't when we know why Superman, like, there's versions of Superman where Scarecrow poison, and Scarecrow and Joker team up and Superman accidentally kills Lois Lane. Okay, there's that story.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who know that story. Well, if you kept telling that same story over and over and over again, eventually it gets nauseous.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the beginning. I don't need a bunch of origin stories about the same character whose origin story I already know. I don't like. Okay, I love Solomon Kane too. I love the Solomon Kane movie. It does give his origin story, but he does jump into an adventure though too. Did they need that origin story? No, but I don't mind it because, again, if you
good.
I
was gonna say, for Solomon Kane, I think you do need an origin story. I know it, you know it. The average fan probably doesn't.
Right.
Spider-Man, I think you have to throw in the line, but I don't think you have to tell his origin every time. Superman, Batman, certain characters, we can jump in. The Shadow, I don't think, now correct me if I'm wrong, I defer to you. In the original stuff, books and radio, did we ever hear his story? I know they talked about he came from the Middle East or Far East.
With this, I stick more to the pulps than I do the radio. So now for the pulps, if you're familiar with Doc Savage, the Shadow is Kent Allard. As well. Now, he was a World War I pilot who was so horribly disfigured that he doesn't have a face. Now, no one knows that, of course. And he went to the Orient, the East, and learned these things. Now, with the pulps, no one knows who he is. No one knows that he's Kent Allard. And so he assumes every identity. And people said, well, where did Lamont Cranston come into play? Well, Gibson introduces Cranston as a potential, well, that's the Shadow. But then when you read The Shadow Laughs, there's it's called Lamont Cranston Talks to Himself. And the real Lamont Cranston has returned from a trip. And he comes to New York City, and he's under people are under the impression that he's been here the whole time. And he's like, no, I've been away. And then he catches one of his own servants in a lie. And now he finally realizes, oh my God, Not only has someone been impersonating me about town, but in my own home. And that leads to a face-to-face meeting with the Shadow pays Lamont Cranston a visit, and he sees this dark figure, the brimmed down hat, the cloak, standing at the edge of his bed, and he pulls the revolver and he points it, and the Shadow tells him, press the trigger. And he presses, and a click answers, and he knew where he kept his gun. He's been living there, for God's sakes. He unloaded it, and he comes around, and the Shadow goes, Lamont Cranston asks, who are you? Who are you? And the Shadow goes, you asked me who I am first. Who are you? Well, you know my name. You called it Lamont Cranston. I did. I beg to differ. I called my own name. And he removes the cloak, the hat, and it's the very double of Lamont Cranston. The voice, the signature, everything. And he tells the real Lamont Cranston, I know the name of your grandparents. I received the letter from your friend. Summon your friend from Cleveland. He will choose the real Lamont Cranston, and I will be his choice. So, you can either become my agent or go to prison. So what sounds more tempting here? And it's beautiful. It's just, that's what I mean. Like, do this master of disguise, no one knows who he is, sort of. Look, if you saw the very double of yourself standing at the edge, how terrified would you be? You'd be like, oh, right, you'd be scared shitless. And that's something I've said, they need to sort of do this way to help this character come back. And if they want to do a modern day version of the Shadow, okay, have all the shadows, because I could see them presetting it and it not succeeding, because who remembers the 30s, 40, okay, set it in modern day and have a police officer get suspended. He's sitting on the bench and he's talking to this elderly man, about his problem. He's just talking to the stranger. We talk to strangers all the time. You could be sitting next to somebody. Oh, hi, how are you? You might not know their name, but you talk to them. So he's talking to them, and all of a sudden, this person's sort of revealing information about his case. Like, well, how did you know that? And he doesn't say, and he just gets up and walks away, and he doesn't realize he's been talking to the Shadow in disguise, or talking to one of his old agents. If you want to have one old agent come back, fine. Then have only one. And no, not Margot Lane, goddammit.
What about Harry Vincent or Jericho Drew?
That or Burbank himself. We rarely, there's that too. There's a lot of people they could use. Now, in the radio, they had written originally the part of Margot Lane for Harry Vincent, for the character of Harry Vincent, but they used Margot Lane instead. That's when Margot Lane's actually introduced as on the radio. So there's that. But my hope is that we get a Shadow series, hopefully. Cross your fingers. hard. God. But is there anything you want to add before we go?
No, I think we've pretty much covered it. I'm not going to repeat, because anybody's watching this, all three of them, God bless them. I'll spare you. Again, we didn't hate it. Maybe we're hoping for maybe a sequel to give us the answers that we want. And if you were involved with the making of this film, we appreciate what you did. We just need some more answers, and hopefully you get that sequel to answer these questions.
I think, to our point, I think their intent is really good with this film, but at the times, yes, there's a difference between doing a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, a sequel to the original, again, and, a point you've brought up, doing Superman for the 1,000th time and hearing it over and over again. We haven't heard Texas Chainsaw Massacre over and over and over again, to where, especially when you're time jumping and you're not filling in that gap between the jump. You fill in partially with Hardesty. Okay, well, Leatherface had a family, goddammit.
I need to know these things.
Yes, exactly. Butch, man, you made some great points. Thank you so much, sir, for giving me your time. It's always a pleasure.
It is my pleasure, and thank you for asking me.
You're welcome, man. Have a happy and safe Easter, man.
You as well.
All right, bye.
See ya.